Rashi tells us that the beginning of the book of Devarim is chastisement and reproof for Moshe Rabbeinu on all the sins they committed during the 40 years from the time they left Egypt. However, Rashi says that Moshe chastises them by hint only, and hints to the places where they sinned out of respect for the Jewish people. The only problem is that after this, Moshe Rabbeinu goes into great detail of many of these sins. So what did it help to hint to them to begin with? The Navi Yeshayahu tells us in this week's Haftorah that the root of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and in fact the root of all sin, is Yoda Shor Konehu. An ox knows its master. The Chamor Evus Ba'alav, a donkey at least knows who feeds it. Yisrael lo Yoda, but the Jewish people didn't know these simple, basic things that animals know by instinct. Amilo Hisbonon, because they didn't think deeply, they didn't ponder and contemplate what was going on. When people don't think, then they sin, and from the sins comes destruction. The Chafetz Chaim says that this, in essence, was the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and Bilam, who both had the same potential. Yet Moshe Rabbeinu became a Moshe Rabbeinu, and Bilam became a Bilam. Why? Says the Chafetz Chaim in the Parsha of Balak, which speaks about the prophecies of Bilam, there are no paragraphs, no parshios. He explains, because these paragraphs signify the time that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to contemplate and to think into what he's taught him. So these represent Moshe Rabbeinu's stopping to think and ponder and contemplate what he learned. In Bilam's venue, there were no paragraphs. He never bothered to think into what God told him when he had those prophecies. And because he never thought, and therefore Bilam remained a Bilam, and Moshe Rabbeinu became Moshe Rabbeinu. As a proof to what the Chafetz Chaim says, it says that during the plague of Barad, so Hashem told Moshe to tell Paro that anyone who will bring their cattle and slaves into the home will be saved from the hail. And it says, Hayoreis Dvar Hashem, the person who feared God brought his animals into the house, Vasher lo sam libo, and the one who didn't pay attention left them in the field. And the Medrash comments, Hayoreis Dvar Hashem, that refers to Eov. And Asher lo sam libo, that refers to Bilam. It doesn't say that Bilam was not a God-fearing person. It says he didn't pay attention. He didn't bother to think. And therefore, when Moshe Rabbeinu chastised the Jewish people, he did it with a hint, so they would have to think and delve deeply into what the message was. And once they thought, and they pondered, and they came to the conclusion of what the sins were and what they can do about it, then it was no longer merely chastising them and condemning them and censuring them, but it was then a lesson for them to learn from. That is, in fact, the honor of the Jewish people. I wish all my fellow young Israelites a good Shabbos and an easy fast, and more important, perhaps by the time you are viewing this, Mashiach will have come, and Tisha B'Av will be changed into a day of rejoicing, and you'll all join us here in Eretz Yisrael to celebrate the building of the third Beis Hamikdash.